97.3 ESPN is your station for Rutgers Scarlet Knight football. And we're joined now by the sideline reporter for Rutgers football. That's Anthony Fucilli. Anthony, welcome to the program.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me.
We're thrilled to have you on and happy that college football is back. Of course, college football works. No cupcakes to start off with, right? 8th-ranked Washington coming to High Point Solutions Stadium.
Yeah, that's, usually Rutgers has been able to ease their way into the season, but the last 2 years they've had to travel to Washington last year, who had a terrific season, went to the Final Four, and then this year they come to Piscataway, and they're loaded just like they were last year.
What have you seen so far out of Rutgers football that gives you some optimism heading into the season?
Well, they brought in 6 transfers, and I think that's kind of sparked the offense and the defense, especially at the quarterback position. Kyle Bolin, who is a transfer from Louisville, is a pretty accurate quarterback. He won't wow you, but he's very efficient. He can manage the team, manage the game, and he got beat out by Jackson at Louisville, and he was looking for a place to go, and it's a perfect landing spot for Rutgers and their new offensive coordinator, Jerry Kill. So I think offensively they'll be a little bit more productive. It's hard to be worse than they were last year. They were about 127th in the country. So I'm looking for some improvement on the offensive side, and especially because Jerry Kill, the former head coach of the Minnesota Gophers, knows how to call a football game. He'll manage the game. Last year they had a tendency to run a no-huddle, a hurry-up offense, and they were on the field for about 2 minutes, and then they were 3 and out. And then that kept their defense on the field for the rest of the game, and that is a recipe for disaster. So that's where I think there'll be improvement, gentlemen, is because I think their offense will be better, and I think that'll help their defense.
Staying on the offensive side of the ball, 2 of the new guys in town are brothers, actually. One of them, both from Cedar Creek High School from down our area here, Anthony. Damon and Amir Mitchell. Damon, yes, who went to Arkansas, came back to Rutgers. Amir, he was in Michigan for basically a month and then came to Rutgers. So talk about the kind of roles that you think they're going to have, especially considering Damon Mitchell used to be a quarterback.
Well, they're very excited about the addition of those 2 players. One will be a fifth-year senior, and one is going to be moving into his redshirt freshman year. But don't forget the other gentleman from Cedar Creek, Bo Melton, a freshman, who they're also very excited about, a freshman wide receiver who has speed, can really take the top off the defense. And right now we're not going to see too much of Amir Mitchell because, unfortunately, he was having a tremendous spring. He tore his ACL. So he is coming back slowly, and surely we may see him, let's say, the beginning of October. He's looked good. He's running without a brace. But it's going to be really the other 2 gentlemen, Bo Melton and Damian Mitchell, who are going to provide some spark for the offense. And Damian Mitchell, I'm excited to see him play. He kind of a jack of all trades. And, he can do quarterback, but they're not going to ask him to do that. They want to get the ball in his hands. They want him to play wide receiver, run good routes, and be a playmaker. He's also a big kid, 6'2", 217 pounds, and he'll make his presence on special teams too. He wants to go down there and make some plays. So that's where I think those 3 guys will make their impact on the Scarlet Knights.
Spending a few minutes with Anthony Fucilli, the sideline reporter for Rutgers football. I believe your Twitter is at Anthony Fucilli, Fucilli. Is that correct?
Yes,
yep.
Gentlemen, that is.
Pooch, right? I saw that part on there, too.
Yes, that's my longtime nickname, yes.
So that's 3 out of 4 Cedar Creek kids. Owen Bowles was the offensive lineman. I assume that, the offensive line doesn't get a lot of credit. But, hey, that Cedar Creek pipeline to Rutgers is definitely working. The other local players, we'll just throw them out since we have local listeners monitoring them. There's a redshirt freshman running back. That's Jim Brady out of St. Augusta Prep, and a redshirt junior defensive lineman, Eric Wyeth, from Egg Harbor Township. But let's talk about the head coach a little bit if we can, Anthony, because it's year number 2 now for Coach Ash. What do you see out of him? Sometimes that first year you say all the right things, but you're spending so much trying to just figure out, the things off the field in addition to things on the field. Do you see a more confident coach in Chris Ash?
I do. I think he now has his hands on everything. He feels more comfortable about his roster. I think he feels more comfortable that they have bought into his system and what he wants to do and the culture that he's trying to build. I think his hire of Jerry Kill was a tremendous hire because Chris Ash is a defensive coach, and he can now concentrate more on the defense and allow Jerry Kill to do his thing offensively. And I think having a former head coach on your staff to lean on will do a lot of good things for Chris Ash. But Chris Ash has done a good job this year getting the message to the guys that, let's forget about what happened last year and let's work hard and let's get ready for a new season. I think the guys have bought in. I think he's done a good job recruiting in South Jersey, which, coming off 2 wins is pretty hard to do, but he has sent his message, and some of the high school players down in South Jersey are buying it, that he is building something. And I think, he's going to need some time. This is not going to be an overnight sensation here, but I think the mixture of some young, talented freshmen and some senior transfers can give the Scarlet Knights a fighting chance this year.
Yeah, you talk about recruiting and that fight to lure recruits. That's always been a continual thing with Rutgers football, keeping that talent in state. And I see from reading an article here that there's a new weightlifting center. There's a new outdoor practice facility, things they're adding to also enhance the program that aren't wins and losses, but are sort of creature comforts, if you will.
Well, when you play in the Big Ten, gentlemen, you need to have these type of resources, because kids come to campus, they see, they go on the other visits, and they come to Rutgers, and they want to know that they have all of these things to make them better football players. And what Rutgers has done in the last 2 years really has been amazing to beef up some of their facilities. Their training center, the Marco Battaglia Training Center, the practice field is incredible. It's one of the finest outdoor practice facilities in the country, with a brick wall going around it and a scoreboard, video board inside, and towers like, the old days when, Bear Bryant would be on top of the towers. I mean, it is an impressive structure. And then, as you said, the state-of-the-art weight room. So those are the type of things you have to have in the Big Ten to keep up. You're not going to spend like Ohio State. You're not going to spend like Penn State. But if you can make your facilities look new, which Rutgers has done a good job of, you have a chance of getting, being in the middle of the pack with the other Big Ten programs.
Anthony, going over back to the team on the field, on the defensive side of the ball, I don't think last year's numbers, like statistics, really show the fact that they did try to play very hard. Guys like Trevor Morris, who was the leading tackler, and other guys, they were really working hard. And even though they lost, I was at the Penn State game when they played with Rutgers at home, and it was one of those deals where people overlook the fact that for the first 2.5, 3 quarters, they were really slowing them down, but they just got worn down and worn out. It seems like on the defensive side of the ball, this is a group of guys who are a bunch of hard workers. Do you think this will be the year that hard work starts showing up with statistics and in the win-loss column?
I do, and you make a good point. Let's not forget their best player, their best playmaker, Janarian Grant, after the Iowa game on a 76-yard run, broke his ankle down on the 2-yard line, and that was really a precursor of what was to come. Rutgers couldn't score, and they couldn't take the lead after he left the game. They couldn't get in at the 2-yard line, and from that point on, they couldn't score touchdowns after he was gone. He scored them on special teams. He scored them on offense, and he's a tremendous player who says he's ready to go. He's back. So that gave the offense really they were just in over their heads last season. They would start with bad field position. They would go 3 and out. Think about this. Last year's offense, 59 times they went 3 and out in a punt, and those drives were 2 minutes or less. So it just made the defense wear down, like you're saying, and it affected the special teams. And now this year Rutgers is hoping that with the addition of Gus Edwards, another talented player, a transfer from Miami, you'll see him tomorrow night, a running back who they believe can make things happen and can play on the next level, that they're going to be able to manage the game, run the football, play close to the vest, play good defense, and keep games a lot closer. That is the way that this team will improve. Last year, games got away from them because they couldn't do that.
and Rutgers begins their season tomorrow night here on 97.3 ESPN, your home for Rutgers football here in South Jersey, with pregame coverage starting at 7 and then kickoff at 8. Anthony, you're looking over this schedule. You know, you have a lot of interesting matchups outside of the regular games. You're obviously playing that one game in Yankee Stadium versus Maryland, and you got the full gambit of Big Ten teams. What are some of the matchups this year that you're looking forward to the most?
Well, to be honest with you, I think that some of us think that Rutgers has to hold its own the first couple games of the season. I mean, after the Washington game, they have games against, Eastern Michigan where they should be okay. But once they get out of their non-conference schedule, they have Ohio State and Nebraska. But then in October, I think that's when the season starts for Rutgers. I think that's when they have to make their move with games against Purdue and Illinois. Then they'll have a fighting chance maybe there. Then they'll have Maryland at Yankee Stadium. Yeah, they got Penn State sprinkled in there and Michigan sprinkled in there. But then, a game at home against Michigan State. So my point is there's some games there, and also they have Indiana. There's some games there where Rutgers has a chance to maybe steal one. And maybe if you can get the Purdue game and the Illinois game, now you're looking at if you can go 2-3 in the non-conference, now you're looking at 5 to 6 wins. And, guys, five wins would be incredible considering where they came from last year, and 6 wins would make them a bowl team. So that's the goal. I don't think that, it's unrealistic, but it's going to take a lot of work.
Anthony Fucilli with us, Rutgers football. And Anthony, I'll say to you that going to Nebraska, I spent a decade out there professionally working, and a Saturday at Memorial Stadium is not a bad place to be. You'll at least feel comfortable because you're surrounded by red.
It is tremendous, and we've gotten to visit now in the last 3 years most of the Big Ten facilities, and Nebraska is second to none. I mean, it is an incredible place, and when you go out there, you say to yourself, okay, I get it now. This is big-time football, and everything is geared to make sure that football has everything they need. And, Nebraska is maybe not as powerful a football team as they have been in the past. Their recruiting hasn't been where it has been. They have a new offense, a new quarterback style. They're not going to do the running quarterback system. So they're a little vulnerable this year. They have obviously a second-year coach, but it's still an unbelievable trip. And, boy, the passion. That's the one thing you see now that Rutgers is in the Big Ten. You see the passion of these Big Ten fans on the road. It is just something to see, the tailgating and just how they show up at Wisconsin and Nebraska and at Ohio State and at Michigan and at Penn State. It really is incredible.
It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. Anthony Fucilli, the sideline reporter for Rutgers football. Follow him on Twitter at Anthony Fucilli, and listen to all Rutgers football games right here on 97.3 ESPN in South Jersey. Anthony, thank you so much, Fooch.
Thank you for having me. Anytime, guys.